Hello, welcome to this project in Literary Survey 11. And the project is going to be about the lottery. And that might sound exciting, but it's actually pretty scary once we read the story together and answer the questions, of course. It's by Shirley Jackson. It's by Shirley Jackson, excuse me, and it is written in the 40s. I really hope you enjoy it. It's definitely something that's very unusual. In the lottery, you will deal with a small town and the themes of lawlessness and mob mentality, blind justice and abandonment of reason, and blame and doing wrong. So that is to say that blame is wrongly someone is wrongly blamed. It's misguided blame is what I'm trying to say. And of course, doing wrong is doing wrong. So lawlessness. Um, I guess that doesn't have to mean that there isn't law, but it could mean that there's disorder and chaos. Mob mentality would everyone is on the same boat, bandwagon. Everyone's trying to do their thing, but also do what the mob wants to do. Nobody questions the authority, so therefore that's when reason, critical thinking is lost. So so this was written during it was written at the end of the 40s, and right before this was the Second World War, and right before that was definitely an age of chaos. So going from the Second World War and into the 50s, you start having the fear of communism. This doesn't really play to that as much, but anarchy and chaos was definitely on many people's minds during that time. So population started to boom. That's why they call it the baby boomers, and that plays into a lot to do with this. So I hope you enjoy it as we go on.
In the introduction to Shirley Jackson's iconic short story, The Lottery. It's the morning of June 27th in a small village, and its residents, about 300 people, gather in the town square to participate in the lottery, which begins at 10 a.m. The children gather first. Several young boys begin to select smooth, round stones and pile them in the center of the square. The men arrive, chatting casually and making quiet jokes, and soon after, the women follow, exchanging gossip. Mr. Summers, who runs the coal business and officiates at town social events, arrives with a shabby black wooden box under his arm that has remained in use for over 77 years. Not wishing to upset tradition, the villagers never make a new box, despite the fact that aspects of the old ritual have been forgotten or discarded. In the rising action, records list heads of families, heads of households in each family, and members of each household before the lottery begins. The postmaster swears in Mr. Summers as the lottery official. In prior years, the official performed a recital described as a tuneless chant and saluted residents as they drew slips. But nowadays, the official greets each resident without a salute. Tessie Hutchinson arrives late to the lottery, explaining to her amused friend that she forgot what day it was, only remembering when she looked out her window to notice her family gone. Mr. Summers jokes about her late arrival, and Mrs. Hutchinson says lightly that she had to finish washing the dishes, which cracks up the gathered crowd. Mr. Summers then explains the rules that the residents have heard many times before. The official will read the names of each family. The head of each household will come up and draw a paper from the box, keeping the paper folded until everyone eligible to draw has taken a slip. The men approach the box in alphabetical order by last name and solemnly take their paper slips. As the names are called, a nervous tension begins to settle over the assembled townspeople. Old Man Warner rants about the North Village, where folks are talking about giving up the lottery. Cantankerous old man Warner says nothing is good enough for the young folks. They might as well live in caves and quit working. He repeats a familiar saying, lottery in June, corn be heavy soon. Mrs. Adams points out that some towns have actually already stopped lotteries. Old man Warner announces that this is his 77th lottery. In the climax of the short story, after the heads of each household have drawn their slips, they open their slips all at once. Bill Hutchinson has been selected in the first round of the lottery. Tessie Hutchinson complains that Mr. Summers didn't give her husband enough time to take any paper he wanted. Other women in the crowd quiet. Bill himself tells his wife to shut up. In the falling action, the Hutchinson family draws lots amongst themselves in the final round of the lottery. Mr. Summers asks Mr. Hutchinson if there are any other households in the Hutchinson family. Mrs. Hutchinson says that her daughter Eva and her husband Don should take their chance. Mr. Summers reminds her that daughters draw with their husbands' families, and Bill Hutchinson agrees that's what's fair. Their family includes only himself, his wife, and their 3 youngest kids, Bill Jr., Nancy, and Davy. The 5 Hutchinson slips are put in the box and then drawn by the members of the family. Old man Warner grumbles that people aren't the way they used to be. The Hutchinson children open their papers, and they're all blank. So is Bill's. And in the resolution, on Mr. Summers' instructions, Bill forces the slip out of Tessie's hand and reveals a black dot made with a heavy pencil. Mr. Summers tells the crowd to finish quickly. The children grab stones. Someone gives pebbles to little Davy Hutchinson. The villagers take stones from the pile the young boys made earlier in the day. Tessie holds her hands out desperately as the crowd moves in on her. The first stone hits her as Old Man Warner urges the others on. Tessie pleads with the crowd, screaming, "It isn't fair! It isn't right!" And then they were upon her. The bland and quiet opening of the lottery does anything but prepare readers for the horrors to come.
The main ideas that you have to keep in mind here. We just saw or heard that clip about what the story was about in a short, abridged version of the summary. Too many people are living, so townspeople gather to see who's going to die. Yikes! Townspeople, including children, bring their own stones. So there's this picture of a stone here, and obviously it's supposed to be something peaceful, which clashes the idea of the stones used in the story. Okay, so there's a tradition that is really evil, if you think about it, and is followed blindly without any critical thought. Okay, and even one person says they've been doing this for 77 years. My God. Just one year after the other, and they have to do it before noon. Unbelievable. Anyway, so this is where civilized people become brutes or brutal. Like, in an instant. It's just really strange. So after we read this, the questions that we have is, so does lawlessness still exist today, in your opinion? And how does lawlessness create problems in society then and now, even though this is fiction? And is the town described in the lottery a symbol for that of all in society, meaning that we're all destined to repeat history? Do you think? Good luck to everyone, and thank you so much.